Microphone check 2 1 2. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to It's the Bearded Man podcast with your favorite, the world's favorite bearded man. They just don't know it yet. Bye. Today on the podcast, Ryan Westberg. How you doing, brother?
Amazing. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you don't have to say thank you. It's an absolute pleasure to be here today, brother. It's a beautiful Venice spot you got here. You've been here for how long now?
A little over a year.
Does it feel like home yet? Because I know sometimes that first 6-8 months, you're still trying to put things together and it doesn't really feel like a true home, but do you feel like this is a good home now?
Absolutely. It's been incredible things have been built here, and that was the whole reason we moved in.
Totally. And you were in Santa Monica before here.
Yeah.
Do you miss Santa Monica at all, or does this feel like the right
I miss
spot?
parts of Santa Monica.
Yeah.
Like Palisades Park was a pretty incredible place.
Come on, that's beautiful out there.
But Venice is more community-based in Venice.
Yeah. Every time I'm in this neck of the woods, which literally feels like every weekend for the last 6 weekends, I'm just like, you gotta move here now. Like, I got closer with the move to Hawthorne, which has been great. That it's just a beautiful place that we have. But now every time that I'm in Venice, and now that the fact that I'm here every weekend for the most part, I'm like, this is like the next step. You just gotta go to Venice because everybody, I feel like, is either here, Marina del Rey, Santa Monica, just this whole true Upper West Side is beautiful.
Absolutely. And then pre-COVID, like you live here, so you walk out the door and you just run into people.
Yeah.
Which is great.
But yeah, I mean, literally that's the best way to meet people and stay in contact with people. I mean, you're right off Abbot Kinney, so you can go stroll around, go to Roosterfish, cause some trouble when COVID's not happening, but this is definitely a good spot. And I see you on Sunday mornings taking the ritual walk on the beach, which
every Sunday.
That's probably a good place to decompress and get some space.
100%.
Ryan, it's been 2 years since that last podcast we did.
Crazy.
It actually came out in October of 2018. I looked it up before I came through today. 2 years ago. When I think about me personally, how much I've changed in 2 years and where I was with my life then, it's unbelievable how much has changed since. Very big change for you. Very big change for you. And yeah, I didn't even know how to really phrase this first question, and because I know this like means so much to you, but the last podcast we had, you were with Serengetee. And at that time, how many years had you been in 2018 with Serengetee?
That would have been about 7 years.
So 7 years.
Yeah, or 6 and change.
So fast forward 2 years, that chapter has closed. A lot of amazing things have happened since and are continuing to grow. And I know some of the story, but I kind of want to hear from you and to have it recorded in a time capsule of your life. How was it that from that moment to now where we are today, that chapter closed and now you're here with Fan of a Fan and everything else that you have going on?
Yeah, I mean, that was a very pivotal interview, as I've told you a million times.
And I'm not here to toot my own horn, but
no.
I think we've talked about this story so many times that I think there's so many lessons. And
no, it was very
dig deeper with it.
transformative. I'd given many interviews with Serengeti and talking about Serengeti. And talking to you just seemed like another one, but it was obviously you did a great job and it was super fun.
Thank you.
But your last question was, what's your purpose?
Yeah.
And I had felt like I always had an answer for something like that when it came to Serengeti. And I always felt very, very confident saying it. But something happened when you asked me that, and I froze. And for the first time in 7 years, and 7 years of tons and tons of interviews, I froze. And I didn't know what to say. And I can't even remember how I responded. I probably just said something, whatever came to my mind first. But that entire ride home, I was thinking, like, what the hell just happened? You always know that answer. You always are so confident in those interviews. What just changed? And that caused me to... I'd already been kind of reassessing my situation with Serengeti and kind of like where my life was going and like how my priorities had changed and kind of like what my definition of success was. And I was already reevaluating that. But when I paused on that question, that's when it became like very, very real that like my head, I was just in a different place and I needed to really, really think about like what this next chapter was going to be and what this next step was going to be to ultimately phase out of Serengeti.
What were some of like the moments, or are there any specific things that you can think of that were causing you, before we had that conversation, before we did the podcast, that you were starting to trigger like, maybe this isn't the right direction for me anymore? Was there anything specific, or was it just kind of evolving?
It really went down to just thinking about like that last 7 years. I defined what success meant to me when I was 20 years old, and I was waking up every morning, knowing that like the day was mine, I could do whatever I wanted, traveling the world and kind of making sure I was just seeing as much as I possibly could see in like whatever short period of time. And I felt like I lived that for 7 years, but then when I was 27, 28, felt like I just like lifted my head up and I was like, oh my gosh, what just happened? I feel like another 7 years could go by and I'm doing this. I don't think this is what I want to be doing every day anymore. So I think my priorities have changed like tremendously.
So to you, success early on was being the ability to travel the world and kind of live by your own terms and live on your own schedule while still trying to build the business.
Exactly. Yeah.
And what was that, when this was happening, what did you think your next definition of success was looking like?
Well, I just met my now like business partners, like Zach and the Yes Theory guys, and was feeling more of like a community, especially on the west side. And I no longer wanted to be this like nomad that was always just bouncing around, living this, to a lot of people, like perfect life. Like I'm in Bali every week, I'm in Zimbabwe the next, like I'm doing a crazy, crazy lifestyle and I have no regrets on it. But that was not like what I was into. I like loved like just having long dinners and being around like super inspiring people and just really like motivated people rather than, and people that were really like trying to change the world, versus my previous 7 years. I felt like I literally lived on an island. I was running this company. I had a co-founder, but like we weren't together most of the year. And I was traveling a ton solo, and I'd had friends come sometimes, but I was definitely like by myself a lot of those years. And it was incredibly transformative. And again, I have no regrets on it, but that's not how I wanted to live my next 7 years or the next chapter.
Yeah, I think there's so many people that either are going to listen to this and think, yeah, traveling the world, that's got to be the dream. I mean, literally, if you ask anybody, majority of people, I feel like if you ask them, if you could do anything today, what would you do? Travel the world. That's like the number one cliche answer. I just want to travel the world. But I don't think people realize what that means and what sacrifices are you have to take in order to travel the world. And you're not doing this with 30 of your best friends, especially you. When you were doing this, I know it was such a heavy, and I loved that aspect of Serengeti where it's like you were going out finding fabrics and you guys were incorporating into the clothing, and it was like such a bigger meaning than just wearing a piece of clothing. Like you had
there's purpose behind every trip, which made it like even last so long and be able to travel so much without feeling like so empty. Like we did so much incredible work around the world. But it was exhausting. And when you just said it, like there's significant sacrifice that goes into like living that nomad lifestyle. And a lot of it comes down to like relationship type things.
Did you get anxious when you were actually in LA? Because I know you had a spot in LA for when you were in town, even though most of the time you were traveling the world. Did you ever feel anxious or lost when you were actually sitting still here and trying to did you even have really community? Was there
it depends. I had like different phases of LA because I had that Santa Monica spot, which was because I was trying to like slowly phase into like having more roots. But I mean, before that, I literally lived out of a suitcase for multiple years. And that's when it would be it was fun because it's a different period of life. But I don't know how to answer it completely.
It probably still feels so crazy to you because, I mean, you were literally on the road all the time. I mean, you traveled 80 plus countries, and I don't know how many years that was, but to most people, like, I would love to know what the average, even just US based, what's the average amount of countries somebody will see in a lifetime?
It's probably just a handful, like
maybe literally one hand, literally one hand.
Yeah.
You're over here with 80 plus.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, what's really it's so interesting to me is that we have this conversation, and that honestly, your example is probably one of the most incredible, proud moments I could have as for that project, because for me, from the jump, Purpose of the Youth not only was about like me trying to figure out my story, but what I cared so much was about the guest. And I wanted to make sure that I did my due diligence and I researched and I made sure that I didn't waste this person's time. Ultimately, if I could have the guest have an incredible experience, I didn't necessarily, I wanted the project to grow. I wanted to have hundreds of thousands of views and plays, but I knew that no matter what, as long as the guest had an experience that they'll forever cherish and remember, that's literally like what I'm shooting for. Everything else is just a bonus. So the fact that a conversation that we had ends up triggering a moment, and then obviously there was a lot of other things that built up too. It wasn't just we had the conversation, don't know what my purpose is, now it's time to like change. I just think it's like so powerful to know that this idea, this project that I was just doing and really trying to figure out my own shit, really ended up helping you or whoever else was on the project. So it's like not a pat on the back, but it feels so much bigger than me, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I'll always be grateful for that conversation.
Yeah. And what's crazy is similarly, your business partner that you ended up moving on to, Zach, was one of the big important moments, conversations that I had. So I have a conversation with you, there's some change. I have a conversation with your new business partner, who you've been in business with now, not new anymore, but that ends up being a moment that got me the job with Liquid IV, because it blows my mind how we can be so set on a path, but a conversation, or there's a moment, or there's a podcast we listen to, there's an interview, there's a person we bump into at a coffee shop, it all can just kind of redirect and then take us down a whole different path, which I think is just like, you just never know Absolutely. When that moment's going to actually happen.
Yeah. And gotta say, Zach's very good at having those conversations, and
smart man.
He was definitely pushing me also to take this on full time.
Yeah, that's incredible. So talk to me about how that transition's been like fan of a fan. I feel like you guys are absolutely crushing it. How did that come to life? What was some of the conversations? I think that was already in the background when we did the original podcast, and I think that was something that was just starting up. But now that is a full running business and it's crushing it. So talk to me about some of the inspirations and how did that even come to life?
Yeah, so it's really just the most organic thing of all time, how the business was born. But I met the Yes Theory guys probably like 6 months prior to that, through a mutual friend. Walked in their house and they're having a party, and it was really funny. Walked in and they knew who I was from Serengeti, because Matt Daher from Yes Theory had been following Serengeti forever, and he had actually started a like copycat company essentially in Canada.
Come on, Matt, dude, put some respect on my man Ryan's. Don't be trying
so super funny, but laugh about it now. But yeah, he told me about that, and I was maybe there for 15 minutes, but we exchanged numbers, and then I started just hanging out with them a little bit more. And so when they started talking, I didn't even know what Yes Theory was when I met them. But then I looked into their content. I was like, oh, this is amazing. And then they were about to launch Seek Discomfort, and they were telling me about their clothing line they were thinking about doing. I was like, oh, I can help out if you guys need a hand on anything. This is like right up my alley. I know how to do all of this. So they brought me in for kind of like the manufacturing logistics, like all the back end stuff. That's kind of like my bread and butter. And so we launched Seek Discomfort together, and the idea was they get hit up by, once they launch Seek Discomfort, they're getting hit up by all their friends being like, hey, who does your merch? Who helped you with this? So that's how Fan of a Fan was born. So Fan of a Fan is kind of like the operator of Seek Discomfort, and then now we have about 30 different clients.
30. Damn, that's crazy.
But yeah, most of that's come in the last like really 6 to 7 months. But yeah, so I was still doing, at the beginning, I was still operating Serengeti as like my main thing, and then doing this on just really for fun to help friends out. But then Seek Discomfort and Yes Theory's growth was just like astronomical, and I'd never seen anything like it. And so then it became an easier decision, because I was like, I love working with these people so much. I believe in their mission. I believe in like the energy they're putting out there. I believe in the content they're putting out there. And it just made a lot of sense. And I was like getting that passion back that I was like really searching for. So the decision was getting easier and easier. The biggest challenge though was Serengeti was such a part of my like identity.
Totally.
Like, so it was like a decoupling of that, which was really, really difficult because I'd always been just like this traveling guy that's like in a different country every week. And like, that was like a part of my persona for all of my 20s. So it was like, okay, detaching from that and like letting go of your ego and all that, and starting something new that people again are probably not going to understand and be like, why are you leaving the best job ever? You get to travel the world and live this crazy life, when it was just not of interest anymore.
Wow. It's crazy though how there's already this mental conversation you're having with yourself and maybe with some close friends of like, this isn't feeling like the right thing. And then slowly but surely this next incredible chapter, which it sounded like just literally a pure helping out a friend. Like, yeah, you guys are trying to, start some clothing. Like I can give you some advice and show you some pointers, and then turns into the complete new chapter of what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it was the most organic thing, and it was just just wanted to help as a friend. And so about a year, it'd be like, around Seek Discomfort's like first year. That's when I like was officially departing Serengeti, and it was like a 5-6 month phase out, because it was obviously a huge deal for Serengeti, which is still thriving to this day. But me leaving was a big deal for my co-founder, obviously.
Yeah. Well, I think what's amazing too is that you jump into this next chapter, but you're able, it's not like you left and then you went to a completely different world or industry, in the sense of like, you're able to take your skills and lessons that you have learned through Serengeti and apply it to a new opportunity. Were there any certain lessons or things you were telling yourself when then Fan of a Fan was kind of being born? Because you're pulling from all this previous experience, like were there anything that you were like kind of telling yourself, like, I need to remember to do this, and this you had learned through, through Serengeti?
I mean, there are very intentional things, and there's just so many like subliminal things. But I mean, Serengeti had grown astronomically also. Like it was a similar thing to Seek Discomfort, but that also brought a lot of growing pains and all of these things that I'd kind of seen before. So it was nice not being like as phased by certain things, especially in like supply chain changes and all that. I was much more like prepared this time. Also when it came to hiring, Serengeti, like at our peak, we had like 30 employees, but it was like, I hated everything about it, having that many employees. It was just like a disaster. So hiring like slow, but being very, very strategic with your hires. So that was like a lesson I brought in, because at first we were like, okay, we're making money. Like, let's hire people. I'm like, no, like slow down.
Yeah.
Let's take this slow. We can do this the right way.
Well, I feel like it makes sense, right? When money's coming in, there's a lot of things moving, a lot of pieces moving. Most people would think, just hire a bunch of people and get them in. But if you're not taking the time to make sure this is the right fit, to make sure that, like, the job title is, or not title, I don't want to put this person in a box, but exactly the value that they're going to be providing, then it gets to the point where I can't even imagine having 30 people reporting to you guys, and you're like, this is like,
I was like 24 when that was happening. So it was just a totally different I was just a different person, and I couldn't handle it really.
How many is Fan of a Fan at right now?
We're now at 8 full-time.
Wow.
And then the team itself is probably about 12.
How's that feel?
Non-founders included. It's awesome. I feel so different about this team. Like, I feel amazing. Everyone feels like such a great fit culturally, and they bring so much value. And I just feel like really, really strongly about this team.
I feel like even given a pandemic right now, I always keep an eye on anybody that's been on the pod purposing to you. I always keep an eye. I keep running tab on how all these past guests are doing. But I feel like even in the last 2 months, a lot of the hires have been coming in, which is incredible given a pandemic and a lot of businesses are being hurt. And to see somebody like you guys like be able to continue to grow is pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's been scary. I'm still like very skeptical about everything because there's just so much unknown. But I mean, in March, I had like a breakdown. Like, oh my gosh, we're losing everything. Like, a lot of our brands were really just not. Their sales just dropped so incredibly low. And I was like, okay, I have to go through every single expense. I got to figure this out. I like just brought on one of my assistants, and like I was like, are we going to be able to like even keep her around? But then April came around and it was like the biggest month ever, and then June the biggest month ever, and then we have like an influx of clients, like inbound clients. So we were like proceeding with caution, but now it's like, okay, I think the shift to e-commerce off of since there's been no retail, people still need to spend money. It just kind of like sped up the process of like everyone switching to e-commerce. Well, not everyone, but just like the percent of consumer spend.
And I loved, I tuned into Zach did that. He did a live stream with, who was this a couple weeks ago? YouTube, was it a YouTube?
Oh, yeah. One of the, like VidCon.
Yeah, VidCon. Yeah. It was great.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm clearly not in the merch business, and I'm not even in, well, let me just say this. I'm not anywhere in that world of what the presentation was about, but I was like, I want to learn more. And I loved it. And one of the biggest takeaways for me, and I kind of already knew this for the way that you guys approached it, was this isn't just, Fan of Fan is not just, yeah, we're here to make merch for you. We're here to help you build a brand. So what has your guys' been approach to Seek Discomfort, or like how are you able to continue to grow some of like your clients? And this is more than just selling merch. Like it's very intentional behind it.
Yeah, like our whole mantra, like our slogan is build brands, not merch. We don't want to work with people that just are slapping their face on a t-shirt. Like you can make a quick buck doing that, but our whole thing and our whole pitch and what we're trying to build is like a full brand that hopefully at some point lives outside of this person's audience and just like their relevancy really. So it was like Seek Discomfort, the case study. Like Seek Discomfort is a really, really powerful message that can be so much bigger than Yes Theory's audience, but they have Yes Theory pushing it, getting it off the ground and projecting it out to the universe to be seen by millions of people. But if you're wearing a Seek Discomfort shirt, as I'm sure you've seen, you like get commented on it because people like they dig the message and
totally.
they associate with it.
I was literally wearing the shorts today when I was out running around Seek Discomfort. It literally is just so, the messaging of at least them specifically is just so on point, because I think it can relate to literally anybody, and I think so many of us have uncomfortability with going for the things that we really want in life because it's scary, and we think about all the things that could happen for the wrong reasons, but when reality, we should think about the positive things that could happen by doing the thing. And so I think the messaging of itself is just literally
it's incredible. And I give them so much credit for coming up with that, because even at the beginning I was like, I saw the vision, but now it just becomes so big, and they've really done a great job.
Yeah. I mean, you've been a part of that though, like Yes Theory is the channel, it's the content, but then it takes people like you who are helping deliver the actual product. And I have a great example of last weekend. I'm in Malibu at this freaking cove party. Like it was like in a cove, not COVID, but it was in a cove, and it was like blocked off, and it was like this is crazy. Anyway, there's a guy wearing a Seek Discomfort shirt, and my buddy that I was with, he said, "Oh, Seek Discomfort, Yes Theory," and this guy doesn't know directly anyone on the team. I've never seen this guy before, but he was a case study to me of how powerful this message and brand has become, because he was like, "You guys in the Yes Fam?" Like he's like, "Yo, I'm in the Yes Fam, like Facebook group." He's like, "Yo, we gotta meet." He's like exchanging numbers, and it was so amazing for me because it was a case study of what Yes Theory, you guys have built with the merch itself. Is like, this guy is a walking light of the Seek Discomfort. And when I see this guy, I think he's not the only one. They are now hundreds of thousands of people around the world that are wearing that merch and that are pushing that message, which then is like a domino effect to that one person to 50 of their friends. It then becomes this huge momentum of like incredible, just like positive, go do the thing you've always wanted to do energy. I I'm on the 63 days of sober. So like I'm seeing this in real time and I'm like actually processing. I'm like taking mental notes of it. I'm not just like out with Mal, boozed up, drinking rosé, like freaking like not even thinking about it. I'm very like caught up in this moment. And I'm just like, this is more than just one person. This is.
No, it's more than merch. It's a whole thing.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Even at the Yes Live event in October was a big moment of like, damn, this is becoming something so much bigger than just merch itself.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. And then the team had brought on Brian Spunt, who's like been a huge part of.
He's the CEO, right?
Yeah. He's really helped take it to the next level.
What was he doing before?
He was at Elwood Clothing.
Okay.
Like, kind of like very streetwear.
Oh, okay.
More fast fashion-y, but elevated streetwear.
He seems like he knows what he's doing. I follow him on IG.
He's amazing.
I see him posting some stuff like this.
He's an incredible guy.
This guy definitely knows what he's doing.
Definitely. Yeah, no, he's been a huge, huge asset.
Damn.
Seek would be nowhere close to where it is without him.
Damn, that's incredible. I know, like we were saying earlier, like the whole, you traveled 80 plus countries, and that's clearly not, I mean, now with the pandemic, right? Nobody's traveling anywhere. I'm very curious as to how you have been feeling about this time, this COVID time. I think we've seen each other a couple times, social distancing, they're 6 feet apart, following guidelines and whatnot. But ultimately, how have you felt through this last 5 or 6 months? Because I feel like I feel very lucky. I feel very fortunate that I'm in a position where I financially wasn't hurt. My career was still growing, and I live with friends, so I have people around me. I find ways to stay physically fit. Like, I feel like I've been able to cope through this pandemic, but I know there's a lot of people out there that, truthfully, this has been terrible for many reasons. So I'm just curious, how has the last 5-ish, 6 months been for you personally?
I mean, tons of highs and very, very high highs and super really, really low lows, especially as I was alluding to, March was like brutal. Like I was so scared we were going to lose I was like coming on a year of leaving Serengeti to go all in on this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, is this all ending? So that was pretty brutal. But then like the growth has been incredible. And yeah, feel very, very fortunate to be in an industry that, like our supply chains are an absolute mess now, just because of COVID, but we're still able to like operate and make money and sell. And, very fortunate to be in a hiring position. And, like a lot of the people we just hired are like they were, furloughed or let go and stuff like that. And I know what the job market is like because I've been actively recruiting. So just feel super, super fortunate to be in the position we're in. But yeah, I mean, personally, just high highs, low lows.
Yeah.
Trying to just stay busy, but it's hard for things not to feel like Groundhog Day sometimes. So gotta mix it up.
I'm so happy you said that, because my roommates literally talk so much shit to me. And they're like, it's literally like Groundhog Day living with you, because I'm very disciplined, and at least Monday through Friday during the week, I have the same schedule. Like I do this at this time, like, so they're always talking trash to me, but I think there's
just trying to stay busy. I bought the house out in the desert, so that's been a whole project.
I know. I'm glad you brought that up, because that is for sure a talking point today. Wonder Ranch.
Yep.
Talk to me about
Coming
that.
soon.
Like how. Just in general, like what was the inspiration? I know there's more of like an underlying story of like, I think it was something like you wanted to pay tribute for an experience.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many reasons why I got it. I've been going out there for years. It's out in 29 Palms, which is by Joshua Tree, just a little bit further.
How far average time from here to?
Like 2 hours and 15 minutes ish.
Okay.
But middle of nowhere. And I had fallen in love with the place because I would go out there and I would unplug, and I'm always like super attached to like my phone and stuff when I'm working, and I'm very just like plugged in, like I'm getting bombarded with emails all day. But that would always be a place where I just like went and unplugged, and I think like the energy out there is incredible, and most of all it's just quiet. So over the years I'd really fallen in love with it. So I'd actually been looking for properties for a while, like actively searching, and then I found this place.
You were actively looking out there, or just in?
Out there,
Gotcha.
yeah. I knew I wanted some land is cheap, and you can actually like get a bunch of land.
Out here in LA, it's freaking not cheap.
Not a thing. And then growing up, my dad has a couple properties in Connecticut, and so like I would always help out with them. He'd hire me to like do the painting and random like stuff to hang drywall and all that. So it was always like a father-son thing. So the idea was get like a fixer-upper, and I'd work on it with my dad. And I found the place. I bought it February 20th on my 29th birthday, close, and then we all know what happened just shortly after that.
Wow.
And unfortunately, like I'm from Connecticut, my dad's 65, so
no traveling.
Have this property fixer-upper, and I can't bring my dad out to help. So I've been I've learned a lot in the last 6 months about construction and all that. So it's been a journey.
I know your birthday party here was literally like I think the second to last event I went to before going off the radar for that, first 8 to 10 weeks of lockdown where nobody was doing anything and you weren't really allowed to do anything.
Yeah, I think everyone kind of calls that the last hurrah. It was a lot of people's like last parties.
Oh, it was a grand old time for sure. That's so dope. Like I've seen some of the pictures you've been sharing on Instagram, and it seems like it's definitely getting there to where it needs to be. But
next week, and then the idea
next week it's gonna be done.
The interior's done, and then have to work on like the landscaping and stuff. But kind of the idea behind it is just to create like a sanctuary out there, like a just getaway house. I'm not going to put on Airbnb or anything, but give it to friends, family, clients, employees. Anyone can just use it if they just need a place to get out of town.
Wow.
And then just have it be like a sanctuary, like safe space where if you just need to unplug, it just will be like well designed, simple, and just in the middle of absolute nowhere.
Damn. And so that was February. So it's like 6 months later, it'll be completely.
Yeah.
And
so I didn't get the keys until April, so I'm not as far behind, but I'm still far behind.
If they were on time with the keys and COVID didn't happen, he probably would have been all done. But that's got to be so exciting to kind of get towards the end of it and be completely done and have that thing ready to go.
Super excited.
Wow. Wonder Ranch. How did you name that?
Because it's in Wonder Valley.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's not as clever as you might think.
Of course, I didn't really think that one through. Yeah. That's great. What's this is kind of goes on brand because obviously working with Yes Theory a lot. What is something that you have yet to say yes to, but inside you want to say yes to do? There's got to be something.
That I want to say yes to.
Yeah. Something that you've thought about doing, but you've maybe made up excuses not to do it because the time isn't right or, this or that. What's something that you have?
Like this year I've been going after a lot of those things. Like I was against kind of like spending money on anything for a long time, and I got the house, and then employees I was very skeptical on, but now it's kind of like push and go on that. I'm trying to think of what's left. I mean, we're having like a big change. We're getting actually this is a big one that I thought was the wrong move for the last 2 years with Fan of a Fan, but we're going to be getting our own warehouse again.
Whoa.
Which is crazy because did all of our stuff in-house for Serengeti, but that was a huge like
headache,
yeah. Mm-hmm. And I was like, once we got out of the warehouse, I was like, we're never doing this again. But I'm excited to try it, get a crack at it again.
Wow. And so what is the there's going to be people, and I'm this is all new world to me. What is the plus and some of the cons of actually owning your own warehouse? Other than, because obviously cost, you have somebody else if they're owning it.
It's really control. I just want to control the entire like process more so that we can provide like a better service to our clients. And also as we grow and we're starting to build like in-house brands, we just need a space where we can really just execute faster and better and more efficiently. So I just want to own the process.
So when you say warehouse, are you talking as well as producing the actual clothing as well?
Yeah, so it'll kind of be vertically integrated.
Whoa.
That vertically integrated is kind of like the theme of like the next year or so.
So you're going to have literally machines in there pumping away and can embroider the whole nine.
Yeah, everything I kind of want to bring in-house because we're at the scale where it now makes sense. And again, I just want like control.
Damn. And I'm assuming the warehouse will be in LA?
Yeah, so it's going to be in Ontario, but it's a little further out.
Okay.
But that's where I operated Serengeti also.
Whoa, back to the same roots, dude.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty massive.
So yeah, that's definitely that's a yes right there.
Wow, a freaking
And
warehouse.
of course, Amar has been one of the members of Yesterday. He's been pushing for a warehouse for a long time, and I've always just shot him down.
Yeah.
But he always ends up winning in some way, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean,
because he's a true visionary for sure.
I mean, that's a huge step, because then it's like if you get the first warehouse in, then at some point maybe there's a second, then there's a warehouse in other countries, and then, I mean, literally it's just like a rocket ship that just continues to fuel up and can keep, cruising fast.
Absolutely.
Wow. A lot of growth, Ryan. A lot of growth for you guys and for you yourself. You've been out in LA for how long now?
5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
Any vision of maybe going back to Connecticut at some point, or do you see yourself still? Do you enjoy being out here? Like, what's your status?
I love LA is where I definitely want to be for the foreseeable future. I can't see, especially in Southern California long term. I love the weather here.
I know.
And LA, like the community we have here is incredible. Like, it's just, the startup scene is amazing. And
Yeah.
just so many inspiring people around, which is, again, going back to like redefining success, and like it's community driven for me right now. And I don't see a stronger like community in the space we operate in than anywhere than here.
Do you feel like when you started to put more time and effort into like the building the community, was it a struggle at first? Was it something that you just weren't putting any attention to, so it wasn't there? Like for me, for instance, like I was even just telling you before we started this podcast, that's been a heavy thing for me in the last even like 2-3 months of like building community, going to parties where I don't know anybody. Like that shit is actually intimidating. I'm somebody that's very confident, but it can be very intimidating because you're like, yo, I don't know anybody here. And it's one thing when you're out with friends and you could just like, you're just having casual conversations like, all right, I'll see you guys tomorrow. But when you're meeting people for the first time, you actually have to put like 150% energy into like showing them interest, like actively listening, trying to really like be present and have a good conversation. So do you feel like all you had to do was kind of change the lens and be like, oh, there's actually all this amazingness happening around me? Or did you have to start really putting in a lot of effort to build that community?
I think like the beautiful part of it is like once I started searching, I found a lot of people that were searching for the same exact thing. And so there's just kind of instant connection where some people, very different stories, different backgrounds, all that, but they wanted to be hanging around like other entrepreneurs, startup people, or just even really just like-minded people. So it just seemed like everyone was kind of just coming together and excited to like be around more like-minded people.
Yeah, I definitely feel that out here, especially like
in the last like two and a half years. I feel like it's just everyone's like connected in some way out here at this point.
Yeah. How often do you go home?
I mean, pre-COVID, I was going home like 3 to 4 times a year.
I love how we're like pre-COVID. Like that's just
I haven't
like the
been
thing.
home. I haven't been
Pre-COVID.
home since the holidays though, which is crazy.
Like Christmas time?
Christmas, yeah.
Wow. Do you have any plans coming up?
I don't think I'm going to go back until Christmas time this year, which is
Full
crazy.
year.
Yeah. I mean, I talk to my parents all the time, but I just am very nervous. My parents are just in their mid 60s, which is it's hard. And like I am around people, I take it seriously, but still.
I know. It's just weird. It's a weird time right now.
Yeah.
I think we're starting to see people kind of get back to living life, but still within reason and not, like wear your mask. But it's weird because even I was at the beach this weekend and there's people that.
Yeah. Like trying to be respectful
Totally.
to people that are truly at risk, but it's hard. But yeah, and then my sister's having like another kid, so she's
in Quincy now, I think, right? Massachusetts. Is she living in Mass?
She just got a place that my parents are living in also, no longer in Quincy.
Okay. You used to live in Quincy?
Used to.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
That's
okay.
where
exactly.
No. As of like this week, she's not in Quincy. So
Oh, okay.
you're spot on.
All right, I was spot
on.
I was close. I was pumped to know that there was some Massachusetts in you, but literally, clearly not anymore. Yeah. Damn, Christmas time though, huh?
Yeah, it's a bummer.
Yeah. Well, when you fly back, where do you fly into? Bradley? Hartford?
I think I'm flying they're picking me up at Boston.
Oh, Logan?
Yeah. Well, my parents sold our house in Connecticut, so I actually have no roots anymore in Connecticut, which is a whole other thing. Yeah.
How does that feel?
It's a bummer.
When the hometown is like
yeah,
the house
no,
is
I'm like,
gone,
okay,
where
I'm
you
gonna
grew
go
up in?
stay with like my friend's parents or something. I don't know.
Damn.
So I want to hit up all the old stomping grounds and restaurants.
I know,
and all
that's
that.
so weird.
Yeah, it's the bummer.
I tease my parents sometimes. I'm like, why don't you guys just move to California? Like, I know you complain we don't get to see each other a lot. Like, just come move out here. Like, this is my mom loves the beach. My father just recently retired. I'm like, come out here. But then I'm like, man, they move out here. I got no house in my hometown no more. I literally have to get a hotel if I go back.
Exactly.
It'd be
Which
weird.
is not the same. Yeah.
It'd be weird. Yeah, that's crazy. It's crazy. We're getting freaking old, Ryan. Is there any specific areas in your life you're trying to put more effort into right now? Areas that you want to work on more?
I think it's a constant balance of just like fighting for balance. So, been like very conscious of my health really the past like couple years. So I'm like very making sure I'm like incredibly active in eating healthy. So that's a huge area that I'm constantly working on, especially because I like with quarantine, you're just not going to as many places and stuff. So just making sure just super, super active despite everything.
Yeah, especially you have a long commute to work from the third floor to the second floor of this freaking building.
A lot of stairs, though. It feels like it go a lot of places.
Dude, totally a lot of stairs here. I will give you that.
Yeah.
But that's interesting to hear from me because I would, of course, this is outside looking in. I see you doing these 50-mile bike rides out to Malibu. I see you out running all the time. So I just assume, this is somebody that clearly has been focused on his health for, I don't know how long, but.
I mean, but it's a fight every day, like I wake up 5:55 every morning, and every single morning I don't want to get out of bed. Mm-hmm. And every single morning I don't want to like lace up my shoes and go for a run. But man, when you know how it is, you feel amazing and accomplished every single time you actually do it.
Totally. I always tell people it's not the start that I love. It's that feeling when I get back. Not because it's over, but that feeling of like I pushed myself to get through this, even though I didn't want to do it. That discipline is like the best feeling in the world. And I feel like it's like the jump start to the day almost.
Absolutely.
How when you have those moments of when you're not feeling like, fuck, I don't want to get out of bed. Is there like a secret for you to get your ass out of bed? Do you just like, I don't know, what inside you gets
I'm really hard on myself, and I just know how I'm going to feel later in the day that until I go to bed, I'm just not going to be able to like forgive myself for not getting out of bed. And so that's because like I committed, like this is what I'm doing today.
Totally.
And if I don't do it, I'm just gonna be like, Ryan, why didn't you do that? And then just
it pisses you off for the rest of the day because you're like, I didn't do it, should have done it.
It sets the tone for the rest of the day.
Totally. Just remember too now, thinking about it, since the last podcast you did, was it just a year ago, the triathlon in LA?
Yeah, the Malibu one. That's right about a year ago.
So what inspired you to do that? Triathlon, what's the mileage for everything?
I did Olympic distance, so it was like 2 mile swim, 26 or 28 on a bike, and then a 10K, which is like 6.2 or 6.5 miles.
It was an Olympic style triathlon. Does that mean it's hard?
It's Olympic distance. So it's not a sprint, but it's not a like half Ironman or anything like that.
Got you. How was that?
Incredibly challenging. Yeah, one of my goals for last year was to do like some sort of like physical challenge, and so that's kind of what did it. And there were a lot of like underlying things that made me also want to do it. I had like a huge passion for road biking about like 5 years ago or 6 years ago even, and I was doing it like that was like my exercise. I was doing it every single day, but then I got hit by a car.
Really?
And so I did like a year of PT, and I was totally fine, but there was just like a mental block that made me, it wasn't like, oh, I'm scared to ride a bike. It was just like, I just don't want to. Like, it's not even crossing my mind as like, this is something I'm going to go out and do. So training for that got me back. Like, I found my love for it again.
Wow.
And just got like way more, I'm super comfortable on the roads now and all that.
What was the context of the accident?
A guy just turned into, I I'd bike up to Malibu, like lunch hours when there's not like as much traffic or super early. And a guy he turned without looking, and it was like 10 feet in front of me, and he just stopped because he didn't want to mess up his fender, and he just stopped in the bike lane, and I'm clipped in going like, I don't know, 15 to 17 miles an hour, and I just slam into his car, and I already had a torn labrum in my shoulder, and my shoulder just popped.
Oh my God. Dude, that's horrible. That is not, and it makes sense that you're smart enough to go, I'm going to do this during lunchtime because it's not as much traffic, but that drive, literally, like I was just telling you, I drove out to Malibu last weekend. Those roads, I'm nervous driving in a car.
Yeah.
I don't even know how a bicyclist is making it on some of this road because it is tight.
Yeah. I mean, I only now, like, I'm comfortable again, but I'm only going to Malibu if I'm waking up at like 5 a.m. or something when there's just actually no cars on the road.
Then it's actually peaceful.
Yeah.
Then it's fucking Ryan Westberg road. I'm cruising through.
Yeah, exactly. So definitely not doing that anymore.
That's an incredible challenge though, to go out there and actually like tell yourself that, or going into the year that I want to, do something physical, and then to actually show up and do something like that.
Swim was just hell.
Do you have any other physical interests like a marathon, half marathon, anything like that?
Not. I mean, this year I wanted to bike 500 miles and then run 250. I'm actually almost done with both of those. So
Free.
I'm happy.
Out there getting in them miles, baby.
Because I want to have like some sort of physical goal every year. So
that's good. I tell myself that one day I want to run the Boston Marathon. I just don't know when that's going to be. My father did it, I think the year before I was born. So part of me wants to go out and try to beat his time, or just to check it off and say I did it one time. I just know there's a lot of commitment into training for something like that, and
yeah, marathons are no joke.
Yeah, especially where Boston's at.
You have to qualify.
You have to qualify,
right?
But the good thing is about Boston is, I don't know if this is true for other marathons. You can, if you do it for a charity, you can raise money, which qualifies you, which is like the incentive. So if you raise for a charity, they might say, okay, you have to raise $25K for this charity. So you didn't qualify, but you raised money, and you're probably the last. I'm sure the charity is probably like the last group that gets to go out, which is fine. You still are able to get a number and actually run the actual race. But I think I know somebody that I went to college with that did it for a charity, so he raised X amount of money, and then
love that.
Once he was able to, it's a great idea.
You got this. Do it.
Yeah, I know.
Do it.
Yeah, I know. I just got the training part is the full commitment that right now
I see you out there every morning, though. You're pushing miles.
Getting in my 4, dude. My big 4 miles today or yesterday. I got 5 in. Woo! But full marathon, man, that's a commitment
for sure.
That is a big time commitment. I love this topic. What I'm about to ask you about. I've been really diving in on this one for the last couple of guests. Is the LA dating scene. Talk to me about, in general, what your experience has been like with LA dating. Because I feel like it can be the most intimidating for a lot of people out here, because there's just so many different pockets and different types of people. What's the Ryan Westberg status? This won't come out for probably a month, so give you some perspective.
I mean, I was coming out of like a long-term relationship about a year ago.
How long is long-term?
We were like on and off for like 2.5, 3 years.
That's a long time.
So I've dived back into it, and it's interesting. I mean, it depends like what you're looking for also. I think it's more fun when you're just not stressing out about it and kind of just seeing what happens. But I've fun with it because you just get to meet a lot of people. Yeah.
big app guy? Bumble,
yeah,
Tinder?
I'm on the apps. Yeah.
Hinge. What's the best one you think?
I think Hinge is the best.
Hinge is the best one.
Yeah.
Just fucking shooting shots in those questions, responding to photos.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard, especially during quarantine, like just meeting new people.
Totally. Not fun.
But yeah.
You got to.
I'm not intimidated by the LA dating scene, though.
I like that.
I think it's
you got to go
fun. I mean, there are so many just like fascinating people in the city from all walks of life. It's so diverse with industries and just like types of people.
Totally.
So I enjoy that side of things.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things you just have to be aggressive, and you have to be willing to throw yourself out there and not care if you get shot down, and just got to keep taking those shots, and at some
Absolutely.
point something's got to connect. But
I haven't found the perfect fit yet.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it definitely takes time to find the perfect fit. But the apps can be intimidating. I've tried it, not really successful. I'm not giving my hopes up on the apps, but I'm so much more of a people's person. Like, I need to be in an environment where there's people I don't know, and I feel like I thrive better. But also the problem is with COVID, I'm not even able to get to these opportunities. So which then feels like, all right, I got one other option, which is I got to stick to these dating apps. And
yeah, I'm split, because obviously meeting in person, there's something like special about that, but also like you can save a lot of time with apps and kind of like vetting the type of person, and you can try to figure out if someone's like a little bit more aligned with you just through chatting a little bit before investing into like meeting up for hours and all that.
Well, I think that's the good thing is that you can, instead of waste, I don't want to say waste your time, but it does take time, money, and energy to even feel if something's the right fit. So at least this is just taking really time, and you can cross off a lot of things and understand, is this worth pursuing? Is this
of course you never know until you like meet in person, but it can be more efficient.
Love at first sight for Ryan Westberg, you know what I mean? We pretty much covered everything. I just man, it's crazy to see where you are today and where you were 2 years ago, because you're really truthfully like a different person. I feel like, not only career wise, but feel like just every bucket of your life seems to be in a better position than probably where we were 2 years ago.
I mean, absolutely. I feel really, again, fortunate for the position I'm in and our team's in and all that. And just personally, I feel like I'm in like such a better headspace overall, because I feel great about, again, the people I'm surrounded with and what I work on every day, and kind of the direction and fighting for balance and making sure I'm active and my routine is like in check and all that. Yeah, I feel pretty good about the direction of life right now.
That's great. Is there any specific things that you do to keep your headspace clear? Because I feel like that can be sometimes the most untalked about but important thing to just anybody's well-being.
My morning routine's super important to me. We went into that a little bit, and that goes into not looking at my phone for like at least the first 30 minutes I'm awake, and I don't even sleep with my phone in the room anymore.
Really? You got rid of it?
Yeah, I was actually having for the first time ever, I never had issues sleeping, but I was waking up like in pools of sweat. It was wild, and changed out all my sheets and like would put the air down to like 66, like the Arctic in here.
Like an icicle, dude.
Yeah, I was like, what's going on? And what it had to have come down to, it's like either there's something like serious, which I don't think it is, or it's just like a lot of stress induced, just like brain waves going on and stuff. So I want to make sure I'm like limiting my screen time before I'm going to bed. And then I think my phone just always just kind of gives me a little bit of anxiety. So just having that outside the room, I got like a normal alarm clock, make sure I wake up and then I read. And I mean, I've been doing this now like probably 45 days or 2 months, and like that sleeping issue has kind of gone away.
Really?
Yeah. Or much more limited.
Just from that type of a switch.
Yeah. I mean, it took time, but I feel better about it.
Got the OG alarm clock.
Yeah.
Reminds me of like freaking middle school, dude. I had to hit that thing off. But
yeah. And then another thing is just taking time to like fully disconnect. So I've just kind of made it like essentially like a non-negotiable that once a quarter I'm going somewhere and there's just no phone, no computer, no email, and just taking that time to like kind of reset. And whether I feel like I need it or not, like, you kind of always need it. So prioritizing that at least once a quarter.
Yeah, I think you need space to think, and that's something that I really grew to value with taking the job of Liquid IV, was actually being put into a position that allowed me to have the space, and kind of like I was talking to you about before, where I kind of went off the grid of kind of creating and doing podcasts for pretty much 10 months. But I needed that space to think about, what does my creative passions look like moving forward now with this new incredible opportunity. But had I not given my space to not stop, it's similar, like either putting the phone down, putting the laptop away, or stepping away from the work, because we always think that we have to be doing the work in order to make progress, and if we're not actually doing the work and making the progress, we're not moving forward. But I have seen some of the biggest leaps in growth in my life by actually stopping, assessing how everything's going on in my life, and then like repivoting if needed. But I think the balance and creating space between whatever it is that you do is so crucial, because it allows you to come back refreshed, more energized. You see everything from a different lens. I just think it's super important. But when you're in it, I feel like a lot of people go through that burnout, and that shit just gets old, and it's an endless cycle of you're not making as much progress as you could be if you created that space.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And now that this is kind of like my second my second venture, I'm super cognizant of burnout, because I've burnt out so many times that I know like the importance of everything you were just talking about and I was just talking about. So just making sure it's a priority.
Yeah. It's one chat. I think outside looking in, like you were saying before, people are probably like questioning, like, why would Ryan want to leave Serengeti? Like, he gets to travel the world, he gets to do this, he gets to do that. But I think, and it's very clear after this conversation today, it has worked out completely for the right reasons, and that you were able to learn and have an incredible ride with Serengeti, and now you're able to take everything that you've learned and incorporate into this next incredible opportunity, and it's just setting up for warehouses across the globe, and all the other amazing things that I'm sure are going to be coming in the coming years and months.
Absolutely.
What's something that, as we wrap up, this is something that I've been doing towards the end of every podcast, is something actionable, a challenge for people that listen to the podcast today. What's something that they can do after this podcast that you think would put them one step or 1% better after listening to this podcast? I think a lot of times people listen to shows and then they get frozen, they get inspired, and they don't know what to do next. So regardless if they're an entrepreneur, they are in health, they do music, what is something that somebody can do today that will, you think, help them in any way?
Well, something that had a huge impact on my life was, even if it's working and it feels good, like, make sure it's the right decision. Whether that's career or relationship or anything like that. I think those are kind of the harder conversations to have when things are good. And you're heading in a direction, but make sure that's the direction you want to go.
So stop, assess if this is like the right thing.
Yeah, even if something's working, because sometimes you're forced to have that conversation because something like went wrong.
Totally.
But I think you should have that conversation also, even if things are good. Yeah.
Constantly assessing where you're going and if everything's going well. Ryan Westberg, it has been an absolute pleasure, and I appreciate you taking the time this Sunday and letting me come into this beautiful place and chop it up with you. But I'm excited to see what else you guys have happening behind the scenes, and appreciate you taking the time today, my man.
Always a pleasure.
Great beard, by the way. I have to say, great beard. I should have introed that in the podcast, but I didn't. If you guys and gals enjoyed this podcast, are you at Ryan Westberg on IG?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy this podcast, please screenshot this episode, post it to your Instagram story, tag at Ryan Westberg on IG, and tag me at Bob-A, B-O, 3 B's, 4 A's, and a Y. Let the world know that you just tuned in to this podcast, because it's the greatest podcast in the world. The world just doesn't know it yet. And share it out and spread the word, because that's how we build this thing from the ground up organically. Thank you guys and gals so much for tuning in. Talk to you guys soon enough.
See ya!